For my final interview on this little section here is a speaker that is probably well known to you, Gavin. Gavin is from Wipro. Well, I'll let you introduce yourself. We may need to come in a little bit closer. Yes. We're a cozy crowd here.
Well, thank you and good morning, everybody. I hope you've been enjoying the session so far. And it's a pleasure to be here, I think, for the third year returning. So
yes. And Gavin, what's your role at Wipro?
So my role at Wipro has always been to do with data, integration analytics. But this year I stepped up to be the global director for analytics and advanced AI for one of our marquee customers called Shell.
Yes.
Who we're working with quite actively as Denodo and Wipro right now.
Yeah, I've seen you on stage. You're quite the evangelist for all topics data, and particularly data virtualization. But before we go into any specific topic, tell me a little bit about, again, Wipro. Wipro is a global company, very respected. What do you guys stand for in the market today?
Sure. I think we're quite unique in the marketplace that we are one of the key vendors that does full services IT, but with a specialization towards data analytics and digitization. So most of our organizational partners are on a journey for digital transformation. Mm-hmm. A big core theme of that is how to enable their colleagues and their employees in the data and insight world. So right. Moving from one of legacy reporting and static information delivery to one of interactive information gathering and insight generation.
Right, and I've actually worked with your folks both in the Wipro consulting organization, which of course kind of sets the strategy for this digital transformation, and then of course all the way down to architects and implementation. Sure. So kind of a full service firm, as you said. So in the topic of digital transformation, one thing that comes up is you've got more companies want more data scientists, more analytics, AI, ML, etc. But data engineering and the governance that comes with it is still important. And so this idea of self-service through catalog marketplace is there, but at the same time you have the governance, the stewardship, etc. Yeah. How do you combine the two?
It's a really interesting topic that we could probably talk about for hours,
okay.
But I know we've only got a couple of minutes. It's around surfacing and servicing the right information consumer in the right way.
Okay.
The analogy that has been used a couple of times on stage is kind of the Netflix for data, and the concept of a data marketplace. I think where that becomes reality is that we see a lot of data engineers and right. data scientists entering an organization. Hiring is massive across the industry right now. But there's a lot of frustration in that very data-savvy community that they can't find the data they need. They spend most of their time looking for data, hunting for data, trying to find their colleagues to find out what the trusted data sources are, digging into the MapReduce algorithms to find out what the information flows and data pipelines are, without actually doing what they're employed to do, which is generating that insight and that data science activity. So if we look at how to assemble a curated data set using push algorithms to recommend what information would be of use based on your peer group, based on what you understand to be a trusted information resource, it makes those very expensive and highly skilled individuals much more performant and able to do a lot more and think laterally because they're not having to hunt for their data.
Right. So they're spending more of their time looking at the data sets.
About 90%.
Yeah. And it's actually very. You haven't yet seen the, or maybe we have the Denodo 8 presentation, which is around the catalog is being further enhanced by recommendations like the Amazon shopping cart. Your peers are looking at this. Why aren't you? Or tagging, etc. But that's kind of what I saw say is crowdsourced tagging. But it's also important for us to bring in what we call the inventory catalogs from the data stewardship platforms and bring in the business glossary. And that's the integration that Denodo is doing with some of these tools. What do you think about that?
So I think that there's a catch-all statement that I've been trying to cement in customers. That's around data curation. Yeah. So it's not just retrospective engagement and policing of information, but enabling the insight and the information consumers to own and understand the value of their data and to be intimate with it. Yes. So where they find dirty data sources, maybe a miskeyed or a human integration in the pipeline, they're enabled with the right tools, not only to fix the data as they see it, but also to publish that fix and interact with their colleagues as a peer group. Yeah. A lot more collaboration I see, and we saw a preview of Denodo Platform 8 earlier today, so everyone hopefully saw that online. But that kind of Netflix-type algorithm where you're introducing the AI concepts means, again, back to my previous point, you don't have to hunt for the data. Right. You can spend more time adding value on top of the data. Yeah. And then it makes you want to do more.
Exactly. Well, certainly we can talk about this a lot, but the key themes I'm taking away is the catalog from the consumer perspective needs to be enriched and suggestive and AI and all
interactive,
that. At the same time, on the back end, we should have good integration, which we do with tools like Informatica, Axon, Collibra, IBM Governance Catalog. So we bring in that kind of more glossary or data steward information, trusted data as well. And so working with Wipro, these are the kinds of strategies we can impart to the customers. One final question, Gavin. What would you say is a takeaway for the people watching? What should they do next with respect to Wipro? Learn about your capabilities. Is there something you'd like to point them to in your online booth?
Sure. So if you go to Wipro.com, there's a huge amount of thought leadership information and blogs from some of my very respected peers and colleagues around the data topics and insight in general. And all of this is banded together under the digital transformation initiatives that we run. A huge amount of information there. Obviously, if you're able to be physically present, come and see myself and my colleagues on the booth. But yeah, have a look at Wipro.com. There's a huge amount of information on there that you probably don't recognize Wipro as a traditional service integrator is doing. But we've got a huge amount of thought leadership out there in terms of how to drive this.
Well, in addition to that, Wipro's also got an online booth here, so I'd encourage you to visit there.
Please do.
And my guest, thank you, Gavin, and we'll look forward to your presentation later today.
And thank you all online.
Yes.